Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our first Rant Radio of the year. Barring a little bit of last minute running around, we have our full panel here, and I'm very excited to be bringing a little bit of fun into this quite dreary month of January, where everything seems exactly the same as 2020. Now, hopefully those of you who are interested and who managed to sign up in time got themselves a little package in the mail, a couple of cans of beers, which we encourage you to open and consume now to have Rant in its closest state to what we're used to back when we used to see each other. So first, I'd like to pass on a huge thank you to BlueFort for their sponsorship of this session, and especially Josh, who drew the shortest of straws and has been volunteered to come and speak with us today. Josh, could you give us a little bit of background about BlueFort?
Oh, I certainly can. So, yeah, good afternoon, everyone, or good evening. I suppose we're getting that way, aren't we? Definitely dark enough to be drinking anyway. So a little bit about BlueFort, and I won't steal too much of the limelight, but ultimately we're a specialist security value-added reseller. So we've got a very, very niche portfolio, and we're focused solely on cybersecurity. So we're not selling you mouse mats or toner cartridges and all of that sort of good stuff. And we're specific, I suppose, our focus in 5 or 6 core vendors. We've got a full team that then manage the whole scenario all the way through from initial, I suppose, investigation, if you will, understanding problems, scenarios, whatever those customer needs may well be, all the way through to I suppose full service and support. So be that professional services, installation, investigation, response, that side of things, all the way through to 24/7 support team on the back end of that as well. So that's us in a nutshell.
Ideal. Thanks so much for that, Josh. I am going to turn to our other panelists and get Josh to actually introduce himself shortly, but I've got some other stuff that I want to cram in first. First and foremost amongst those is on the right of the screen in the ever-changing interface, which I've been told is perfect for this kind of thing. You will see the ability to write in your questions. Now, there used to be a day where there was a dodgy microphone. We were in a pub and everyone would just jeer you on to say something stupid in front of your colleagues. Now you have to do it in the safety of your own home. And the only way you can do that is by messaging in, and I will vocalize it in the cadence of a dodgy 80s radio host, and our wonderful attendees can listen in on our panel answering them. Keep in mind, I will be filtering them for spam and madness, but everything else besides, go for it. Please stop trying to trick me with very complicated terminology and terms just because I mispronounced SQL as squirrel that one time. Now, the topic for the debate today is WTF, what's the future? Keen to file 2020 in an underground bunker, the next Rant Radio seeks to tackle a big question. What does the emerging world of work look like to an attacker, and how do we secure it? For a big topic, we have big speakers, all of whom have been told to look at the next 1, 3, and 5 years to try and understand the enterprise information security challenges that will arise from the ashes of 2020. So that's the topic. You've seen your speakers. Now let's get to know them. Ken, if anybody doesn't know who you are, I'll be very surprised. But if you wouldn't mind giving a bit of an introduction onto yourself and how you got here.
Gosh, Ken Monroe, pen tester, security researcher, media tart. I like breaking smart things. I like doing lots of vanilla research on weird devices. I feel very sad because I'm working from home at the moment and there isn't a backdrop, a graveyard of smart kit sat back there, sadly. But here we are, the new normal. We are working from my garage, complete with football table, and we're just going to have to accept the fact that I can't show you lots of fun smart devices. But we are doing lots of cool things on airplanes at the moment. But that's another story.
Absolutely, and I would encourage anyone who hasn't seen some of Ken's work, especially with, well, I was going to say something horrible there, but something to do with dolls and swearing is always a personal favourite. Solomon, could you give us a little bit of background about yourself?
Hello. So I used to do cybercrime stuff when I was a kid. Now I do cybersecurity stuff. Some would argue still a kid. Others maybe not. I am only 23, so in the grey area. I see Ken's foosball table and raise him a bedroom. Sadly, I should be doing this downstairs in a more professional environment, but we're having a bit of work done. So I am very, very sorry. But I am here. Let's just pretend it's like multiple monitor backdrop type thing. Yeah, so that's what I do. I also do pen testing. So I also do mainly sort of web appy stuff, but a whole bit of everything, and try and approach things as I would have done in cybercrime. So that's about me.
Beautiful. Thanks so much for that, Solomon. And Josh, last but not least, I would like to thank you once again for coming to the show, representing BlueFort. And if you'd give us a little bit of background about yourself, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, so technology director over at BlueFort. So been doing that probably 14 odd years now, give or take a few months in one way or the other. I had a full head of hair when I started, we'll put it that way. And yeah, ultimately, akin to the other two guys on the call, really, like breaking stuff, trying to find out the best and worst ways to do things, and really just there to try and be a sort of trusted advisor to the clientele that we're speaking with about all sorts of cybersecurity issues, really. I suppose my focus is probably more around remote access, cloud computing, that side of things. But we'll leave some of this for the rest of the talk, shall we? Don't want to give away too much too soon.
That's it. So everybody knows the topic. Everyone knows our panelists. Now it's time for them to talk about it. Just before they do, let's just cover off any of the bizarre questions coming in. So just like the old days then, absolutely. And one day we will return triumphant. I don't know how it's going to work, rubbing shoulders in a grotty pub, but who knows? We'll work something out. And the second one, Wibble. No idea. Okay, so thanks everyone for those insightful questions. Who would like to get kicked off?
Go on then. Here we go. Right, that's it.
Just answer all the really low-hanging fruit first, and just rob everyone else of being able to answer that way.
Yeah, that's it. Right. Okay. First of all, what's the future? I think there's going to be a lot of interest, obviously, in what's coming, AI, machine learning, all that sort of stuff. But we're still not necessarily covering the basics. We're still not covering, decent password policy. We're still not covering just getting your system looking right, making sure that everything's up to date. That whole spiel that we give off to clients constantly, over and over and over again. Keep it updated. Keep this. The amount of times that we discover and use like a 0 day to get into a system and pretty low, right? It's basically almost always just, oh look, cool password, thanks very much, or oh cool, we haven't seen Windows XP in a while, but pretty near. So that's I think at least my opinion is indeed cover the basics and look at what we've done wrong, try and get that right first, try not to run with quantum cryptography and all that sort of very, very cool stuff before we can walk with not using password one.
Just visibility, I think. I still talk to people who don't know what they've got in their environment. I think that's a big one. If you can't see what you've got and you don't know what you've got, available to you, then how are you ever going to protect it, secure it, have any understanding whether it's attackable or not, really? So I think getting visibility of your estate, especially now that there are no borders to that, it makes it even more tricky. We're not really talking about the future yet, are we? This is kind of the stuff that we should have been doing for the last 10-15 years.
I feel like this would be it, won't it? It'll just be spend the whole time just use a password manager.
It's interesting, isn't it? It's, we talk about looking to the future, and I think most of the answers that we want are actually located in the past, which is kind of a shame. And I think back to the SolarWinds incident, and I think about the day that the world stopped as the SolarWinds breach became clear. And that very same day that happened, we took domain admin at a FTSE 100 firm with password 123. And the entire world was distracted by going, supply chain, this is terrible. And we were like, passwords? So it's sad as it may seem and unsexy as it may seem, I think actually we just need to look backwards in order to see what's coming in the future.
And that leads us perfectly on to the question which you've answered ahead of me asking it, which is great. How significant was the SolarWinds incident? does it cause us to readdress our basic assumptions, re cybersecurity?
It's tricky, isn't it? Right, because it's like I think you got to define significance as well. Is significant as in impact, or significant as in like culturally significant? Significant as in, like you say, will we have to sort of readdress basic assumptions? I mean, yeah, I think anyway. Yeah, we will have to readdress some basic assumptions in a very specific way, but that still is completely dwarfed by the assumptions that we're still not addressing currently, which is, again, the whole, just normal, keep your password secure and keep your stuff up to date. So yeah, it's significant. It was pretty complex and pretty cool, but is it really going to change our assumptions? I don't know. I think you'd have to sort of redefine significance. So.
Even if we go back and unwind the SolarWinds instance a bit, there was some disclosures about 9 months prior that suggested that SolarWinds had an open FTP server with very basic credentials running on it. And you think, like, yeah, an amazing, clever supply chain hack. It's not unique; it's been done before, but they did. But it still goes back to basic password management. We're going backwards to look forward again.
But has it woken some people up that wouldn't otherwise have been aware of these sort of things? Outside of the security bubble in an organisation and the guys that kind of live and breathe this, has it potentially more and more of this hitting the media started to wake up other areas of the business, do you think? I mean,
that's a really good point, actually, Josh. And I think we're seeing a double-edged sword here, aren't we? Because vendors with lots of private equity funding behind them have got big marketing engines which are driving lots of coverage, and it's causing the media to look at these new things with more and more intensity. And yes, that distracts us from the basics. It distracts us generally. However, the very fact that the media are paying attention to these incidents and are getting coverage gets the board listening and asking the right questions. Even if the question they're asking is, are we vulnerable to SolarWinds? Well, no, because of X, Y, and Z, but we need to invest in this to sort out our password problems. I think that's probably a good thing.
So here's a question for you then, Ken. Because first of all, how many times have you seen the press use the word sophisticated to describe like SQL injection attacks, right? Is it important that not necessarily, obviously it's important, is it important in terms of making people more engaged and aware that the reporting is accurate and representative of what's actually happening? Or is it just important to have reporting, even though it's a bit sensationalist and a little bit rubbish, because it will still get people engaged?
I think, like I said, they're a double-edged sword. And so to my mind, there's three basic principles we need to run by, which is patches, updates, passwords, and people. If we resolve those issues, then I think security is in a much, much better place. Is the attention good? Yes, I do think it is good, because I think it engages at board level. There will never be change in an organization that isn't driven from the top down. One of the things I love doing more than anything with an organization is going in at board level and making them do a bunch of homework, getting permission to do some OPSEC or OSINT on one of the board members as a volunteer to show the board that they're not doing it themselves, then coach them, give them homework, come back a month later, have they changed? And if the board's changed and started understanding cyber, sorting out the passwords, sorting out the social media, then the rest of the organizational culture will start to follow.
I think this bleeds into the personal space as well, though, right? So who that's listening to us now probably doesn't have Barclays, HSBC, Amex apps on their phone, who doesn't have this, that, and the other. So the cyber hygiene we're talking about at an enterprise level is bleeding into your everyday life anyway. I know this isn't the case, but it should be. That gone are the days where you've got your one password that is your dog's name and your birthday for all of the systems that you get, for all your emails, for all of your banking applications. And I think, like you say, going back to that double-edged sword, because it's more relevant to more people, they can then take that from a personal aspect in their life where, okay, when it's the business, we can slopey shoulder it. Oh, it's not me, it's the line manager. Oh, it's not me, it's the board. Or I said we needed this, but they didn't give us funding. But I think, or I just want to bury that under the carpet, and if I pretend it isn't there, it won't ever happen to me. In your personal life, no one wants someone opening up 13 mobile phone accounts on their, on their bank account or whatever it may well be. So I'm hoping that media attention that isn't just focused. Yeah, okay, I've kind of wandered a little bit from the SolarWinds breach here, but that kind of media attention that I guess cyber is getting as a whole is informing people in their personal life, and that in their own right, when they're then becoming more aware because it's their personal event, right, they can then take that into their business lives. I mean, again, I'm trying to kind of play devil's advocate here and throw some things out there. I mean, do you guys see that? Are you seeing people become more aware because they have, or their friends have, or their family have been breached or been susceptible to that phishing attack that, of course, Morrison's were going to give me £1,000 worth of vouchers if I click this link. That wasn't suspicious at all. That they can then take that into the kind of the business world as well.
Yeah, back to Solomon's question actually about sophisticated. They're not sophisticated. It's password stuffing, credential reuse. Sophisticated threat actor that used a password they found on Have I Been Pwned?
Yeah,
that's sophisticated. It. Yeah.
From the audience, exactly that. Don't you think breach companies are at fault here? They always say it's a sophisticated attack. Absolutely. Okay, well, we've got loads of questions piling up here. So
tricky one, isn't it? That's a tricky one because are people at fault? No. Well, yes, very much, but also no. So companies, are they at fault? Yes. Although it does depend. So I will say 99% of the time, yes, but we also don't want to ascribe blame to people that are getting caught out by social engineering attacks. Yeah, sure, they might be at fault, but we want to make sure that people are educated and informed. And if they're not educated and informed, then it is our role as cybersecurity people to make them educated and informed, not their. It shouldn't be on them. It shouldn't be their impetus, right? So what you don't do as a cybersecurity person is come in. Someone said they've had a breach. You come in and go, that's Deborah's fault. Fire her, right? It's not how it works. You go, okay, well, look, sure, the company is at fault to an extent and does have a responsibility to its user data, but let's make sure that the culture's there first and people are aware of stuff, and you're not then just looking for that little scapegoat, right? Some bloke on reception or some HR person. That's not it. So yes, company is at fault. Yes, people should be held accountable to their data. Yes, the company's main priority, I think, should be to keep safe their users. No, I don't think we should then extend that to blaming individuals who are not necessarily well educated or not getting the right kind of training, because we just shouldn't. I don't know. I'm so prefacing all of these with I don't know. Maybe.
How do you encourage someone to disclose and self-report if the last person who did it got fired?
Very good point.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay, let's move on to another question, shall we?
By the way, this beer is very, very, very lovely. I've started with the ale. I'm going ale, lager, Indian ale.
It is gorgeous, but do you know what? It's about half the size that I need. I don't know. I've got quite large hands, you see, and they just look like I've got one of those tiny things of Britvic or something.
I'm usually on the whiskey. I was on absinthe last time.
You were on absinthe last time. I do remember that. It was very exciting.
Yeah.
Wow.
Will the current working from home situation make the people's challenges perfect? Soviet anthem plays in the background. Worse or better when we get back into the workplace? Are people getting better or worse?
If we get back into the workplace like we did.
Well, this is it. I mean, I kind of think that maybe London's going to look like I Am Legend, where people are just hunting deer, going through Canary Wharf. Surely that's what we're looking for. No one actually likes their commute, do they?
Well, this is the funny thing, because I work from home. I've been working from home for pretty much the entire time I've had the company. So actually, this is like the most social that I've been. But yeah, no, this is my commute, is that I'll go downstairs. That's my commute. So look, it's cheap, it's easy. I don't, it's a nice commute. Sometimes I'll look out the window. I don't know how well I can answer that one.
What about you guys? What do you think?
I think I'm trying not to reach down into my big book of cliches here, especially given COVID for the last 18 months. But
Yeah.
I think it is changed forever, right? I mean, the amount of people I've spoken to have said, do you know what, this is working all right. And we're saving so much on whatever it may well be, office space, this, that, and the other. Why would we go back to what I'm now going to term the old way? Equally, I don't think it's going to stay like this for the vast majority. And, to Solomon's point, as much as I had a 2-hour commute to the office, which I've done for the best part of sort of 13 years, I would not say that was in any way, shape or form enjoyable, but you do miss the social aspect of it. And that kind of information sharing. And okay, we've got this in technology, but it's not quite the same as sitting on someone's desk or having that round the water cooler, conversation and that level of information sharing, I would say.
And that's part of the thing, right? Is that I think that even if a small amount of people go back to work, I do think that others will follow, right? Because the kinds of, it's one thing to be on call and send emails and this and that to others, but the actual exchange of information and clarity of information that you can get from just being with someone, that all the people that are then working from home are then going to be slightly out of the loop and slightly behind than all the people that are at the office. So we'll sort of feel compelled to come in. And yeah, it's so a social thing. So actually, I'm really hesitant to make a prediction on it. But if you pushed me, I would say actually no, people would be back in the office. I think people you can't work well without proper human contact, human communication, So I don't know.
Nice.
Yeah, a couple of points I'd add there is talking to numerous friends who have worked for businesses in the city. As soon as people were allowed to go back for a period of time, great, everyone's back, everyone's fantastic. Couple of weeks, then they realise that they can't do the shopping during the day and they can't pick up the dry cleaning, and there's no one there to receive deliveries or have the shopping arrive. So actually, you go back, great, fantastic, have my fix of going to the office, but actually, I really quite enjoyed that flexibility. The genie's out of the bottle there. Yeah. The other point I want to make was that, we saw huge change during April last year, and that created opportunity. It created opportunity for attackers, people who weren't used to or familiar with working from home, and the world changed. And I think that forced us to change as businesses generally, both as employers and also providers. There was a huge shortage of laptops. People were working on their own machines. Controls weren't in place. People were vulnerable. They were exposed to fast change without guidance. As soon as things change, that creates an opportunity. And no wonder that ransomware went crazy middle of last year.
Yeah.
Well, I think, and to build on that, like you say, that rate of change, so many companies were rolling things out. I mean, I had companies we were working with that were stacking remote access solutions, stacking two-factor solutions because they were too scared to touch the one they had. Because now, instead of it being 100 people, it was 7,000-8,000 people using that system to get access to critical systems. And as a result, I think there have been a lot of shortcuts. And I know we're going back to the past here, but I think so much change happened so quickly, and a lot of shortcuts were probably taken in doing that just to get people enabled. That now's perhaps a time to say, well, okay, it has become a bit more normal. People have settled into their groove. Now we've got a bit of a chance to actually look back over that and almost audit what we've put in there and how we've configured and built that. And is it actually strong enough to stand the test of time? Or was it something that was chucked in 24 hours because we needed to at the moment, or in the moment, sorry.
Fab. Right, well, we have got so many questions to work through. Thank you so much, everyone at home, for throwing stuff in. I'll try and get a couple of the comments out of the way so we can slap on some questions. Great panel. Thank you so much. Well done, you guys as well. I think that was more targeted at me, though. Some of us do. I don't actually know what that was in relation to. Look at Barclays Gestalian whistleblowers. Once again, sorry, the comments are moving too quickly for me to know what that was in relation to.
These are great questions here, Tom.
I know, I thought you'd like them. Dictionary definition of sophisticated, deceptive, misleading, derives from sophistry. Thank you. Morrison's vicarious liability. Discuss. I'm going to say probably not. Thank you for your contributions. Should we regulate the marketing people? Ooh, yeah. Unfortunately, we can't discuss that because I'm quite reliant on marketing people. So we'll mark that as answered and great. What's the next target, Ken?
Can't tell you because we're filming it right now.
There we go. So keep an eye on Ken. He normally pops up on BBC once a week, so it doesn't take long. Very safe ground so far. I briefed my CEO on tonight's findings. He would think we were being very brave and forward-looking. I think that was some shade thrown in by the audience there.
We're not being controversial enough.
You're not being controversial enough. So one of you needs to say something controversial. Otherwise,
Can I open up the marketing conversation again then?
Yeah, exactly.
God, please don't sink my show.
It's always going to be a problem, isn't it? We've got a fast growth industry, lots of funding around to push that. So there's always going to be a lot of PR and marketing around. Some of it's going to be FUD and some of it's going to be valuable. And sadly, one comes with the other.
I don't have good experience with salespeople. I do they are a necessary evil in this world. And I will make a very bad faith assessment of salespeople, many of whom I am friends with, and say they will jump on anything, even though they don't really know. Actually, this is an interesting thing, right? Because I was talking about this the other day about layers of abstraction, right? Because this is one of the things we're seeing with the whole bloody blockchain crypto bollocks, right? Is that salespeople will just malign everything without necessarily understanding it. And if they see a way to kind of latch, like if anyone's seen, Futurama, those little things that you put, they're like that. They'll just like latch onto people's like consciousnesses and be like, yeah, this will make them buy stuff. And a lot of that is fear, right? So they're like, oh, yeah, fear will motivate people to buy our thing. And they'll try and be either fearful or like redemptive, right? Like, oh, this will save you and this will make you amazingly compliant and you won't have to worry about anything else in the world without necessarily understanding what the actual products do. How many salespeople can describe how the actual like mathematical process of blockchain works? No one. And then everyone's going like, oh, it'll revolutionize the way we, and it's like, it's a good tool, sure, but the layers of abstraction that come on top of that, right? And then you look at a company like Salesforce and how many people are white labeling Salesforce products, marketing them on as their own, other people white labeling that. The more abstract, first of all, the more kind of rickety it is. Everyone knows the kind of build up, right? Is that you've got like product at the top that you're selling, and then there's like baseline code that someone made 20 years ago. There's like well ordered repository of resource, and then just some product that some guy made thanklessly in his own time, just like and everything's built on top of that. And so the more abstract these things get, the less clear the communication becomes, and the more the salespeople and marketing lot resort to latching on to, they're social engineers, right? They want quick decisions. They want people to be in that quick moment, and the best way to put them in that moment is to kind of appeal to their emotive nature, and often that brings about some pretty appalling kind of claims and everything else from those marketing people. So there.
I'll try and generalise this a little bit because I've got to go to work with salespeople tomorrow. So I've got to watch my words a little bit if I want to keep my job. But I think more and more now failure's become acceptable. And I mean failure in products. So even when I started doing this, if someone said, right, this is what our product does, it was a very clear, concise message. It does X, Y, and Z. And funnily enough, you went and installed it and did whatever you needed to do to get it up and running, and it did X, Y, and Z. Whereas now, and I'm being careful not to use the M word, but ultimately there's a load of glossies. We can do this, this, and this, and basically everything. And anyone who's in this industry knows there is no panacea. You can't go and say, if you install this in your server rack, all of your problems will go away overnight. But I think
those are the ones with the worst default passwords, by the way.
Yeah. But there has become this, it seems to be all right now for products not to do what they say on the tin. And everyone just, and again, this isn't just in the enterprise world. You can talk about any level of kind of smart tech now. I find more and more it's acceptable that, oh yeah, that doesn't work, and feel more and more that society are the beta testers. And it's like, well, we'll just get it out there because we need to get a revenue stream coming in. We need to keep the shareholders happy. But actually, we'll spend the next 18 months, 2 years with, our customers as our beta testers. And then we'll start. And if you're lucky, 2-3 years down the line, you might end up with a product that does half the things that it claimed to do on day one. And I'm not a big fan of that. I miss the old days when, you used to be able to say with, some efficacy, this is what it's going to do for you. And lo and behold, it will actually go and do the job. I don't know if that's just me. Maybe I'm just getting old and ratty, but I definitely see that more and more nowadays, I think, with all technology, really, in all products. Marketing, sales, the technologists, whoever you will, I still think it's a proliferating trend.
It's an interesting one, isn't it? My advice to salespeople is shut up and listen. If you can solve my problem, great. And if you can't, go to someone else's problem you can solve.
Or even understand my problem first.
That would probably be great advice if there was anyone in sales listening to this.
That's right. If no one's listening, no one's going to tell the story.
That's the whole point, isn't it? That is the whole point. So, right, this is quite a good one, actually. As this is WTF, what's the panel's thoughts about security around electric vehicles and autonomous vehicles and the integration with mobile apps? Now, this is obviously quite an interesting one. I know Biden yesterday released a tweet that he said he was taking the entire government fleet electric and carbon neutral. So there's a huge amount of money looking to be invested in things like Ford and some of the up-and-coming EV companies. Ken, now you've done stuff previously. I seem to recall something to do with being in a car that was being hacked live as you're on the motorway. Was that
yes.
you?
Can't say too much about this because I might be filming something for BBC Click at the moment.
Oh, sorry, mate.
Well, it just scares me silly is that we've gone from the connected vehicle, so that we can, I don't know, turn the heating on in the morning from our phones. It was very relevant while it's cold, to finding it in the car park where we left it because we can't remember where we left our car anymore. Then again, we don't go anywhere, do we? And we've gone from the connected car, so telematics, telemetry, and we don't get that secure. I've seen very few brands where the telematics platforms are actually safe and secure. We've blogged about a few of them, done some research, and now we're going to the autonomous vehicle, which relies utterly on connectivity. Without 5G, the autonomous vehicle doesn't really work very well. So we've got connected car, which is kind of like we've got control over it, and now we're doing autonomous car, but we still haven't fixed that security bit in the middle. So I'm scared shitless.
Yeah. I find that talking to most security researchers, that's it. Like on the news and stuff, when you have like bad events that happen, usually you might talk to an astronomer. There's a meteorite heading to the Earth, and the astronomer goes, no, it's fine, everything's fine, relax. And other than today, it might be a virologist or epidemiologist or someone that goes, no, this crisis in Africa is very small, and but whenever you talk to security engineers, they go, it's really terrifying, please don't. And that's right. I mean, it's insane. And I kind of, I'm pretty anti sort of DRM and all of that stuff. So it's sort of, I know it's meant to be a motive, but it really does irritate me. I quite like Tesla. I don't like the way the cars are designed, but I like Tesla. But the fact that you have to like install various updates as well, or be connected in order to actually start the car is not a great design feature, right? But yeah, no, it's awful. It is awful. You know, like I say, it's just layers of abstraction that's built upon some bad, like old Apache server somewhere.
Yeah, and the thing is, you're talking about something which is Tesla. We're talking about the leader there, but there are 101 different electric car startups, all with security as the last thing they're worried about, because what they're trying to do is produce something very sexy very quickly and enough to get some really lovely seed funding when they don't have a vehicle. And of course, it's exactly the same with anything IoT, really, I suppose. Security tends to be an afterthought.
Yeah. If they treated electric cars how they treat... Oh, hang on a sec. Sorry, I was going to say, if they treat electric cars how they treat, then I would be a little bit happier, to be honest. You know, long processes, lots of phase testing, and everyone kind of slowly saying, okay, this is safe, this is all right. You know, 10 years later, they release something. That I would be okay with. Again, obviously not at the moment. Vaccine testing is going a lot quicker, but yeah, no, they're treating it like a product, right? Like just any other, like a toy or something. It's like, no, please don't. Not that toys aren't insecure as well. Ransomware on chastity belts. Has anyone come across that one? Yeah,
That was our work.
was it? Was it you guys? Oh crap! Sorry. Wow, I don't know. I thought that was someone else. I just
I'm
saw
not proud of that.
No, it's quite cool actually. I thought that was quite cool. Ransomware and chastity, but I think that's wicked. But though I'm sure what you're going to get is like a small percentage of people that intentionally infect themselves, because that's kind of what drives people to buy chastity belts in the first place, right?
Yeah.
Not that I know.
Secure chastity belts, of course, that's not important.
We got past the chastity belts really quickly there as well, didn't we? Yeah. It's kind of IoT as a whole, right? I mean, security is just the afterthought with anything IoT, exactly as you say, because they just want to get their product out to market. You know, and we'll wait until we hit the front pages and then we'll consider security afterwards. You know, none that I can really talk of, but I can think of a few breaches that have gone through IoT devices. I mean, there are quite a few in the public domain, be it connected light bulbs, coffee machines, temperature sensors in fish tanks, you know, whatever it may well be. I don't see why connected vehicles is going to be anything different from that. And, you know, Solomon's point, please make it something different from that. Please do better due diligence. I don't want my car to shut down on me when I'm doing 70 miles an hour on the motorway.
That is it. Cool. All right. So we are over halfway through, so I need to start rattling through some of these questions. What about the human elements of security, like instant response, training, morale, etc., that's all relied on people being in the same place? Is this something that we're going to find, or are the weekly team builds where everyone gets to make their own candles together going to be enough to keep everyone nice and tight-knit?
Hang on, who's making candles for people?
Oh, mate, you should see some of the things that I've been recommended to do. It's
really
awful stuff out there.
Oh, well, hang on a sec. I quite like a candle, you know.
I'm sorry, anything to do with cheese making, candle making, escape rooms on virtual stuff. No, it's not me, man. So anyway, well, Ken, you're about to say something.
What was the question? I've lost it already. We were talking
people working from home and morale and things.
What
about?
Everyone gets really, really upset. You know, people clicking on links and emails and doing things they shouldn't do. But I come look at it. Isn't that the job of our industry? Isn't that what our vendors should be helping us do? Is to actually mitigate that, so it's fundamentally impossible for people to do the wrong thing. Isn't that what controls are about? Isn't that what end user device protection is for? Is actually to stop that being a problem. You know, we poke the finger at people and say better training, be more aware. So actually, shouldn't. Isn't that what we're supposed to do as an industry, is help them stop doing that? Whether it's through training and advice or technology and a bit of marketing to support it, maybe. I don't know.
There's 6 of one half dozen the other in my mind. I think there are some people that can't be helped. I'm being a bit edgy here.
Heard it here first, everyone.
Yeah, you laugh, but I'm sure you can all think of someone that you've worked with that no matter how many times you tell them not to click the Morrison's link, sorry to bring it up again, they're going to do it next time. They're going to do it next time, and you think, well, how much time and resource can I spend training and banging the same message into this person? Yeah, okay, we've got technology that can do some of that for them, but I think people still have to be accountable. I'm not going to get political here, actually. I'll bite my tongue on that bit. But people still need to be held accountable. You need to have a certain amount of brain power, surely, and kind of have some kind of understanding of this stuff. Yes, we need to be providing the training to them to give them that platform to understand. But you've got to cut your losses sometimes.
How do you draw that line? How do you draw the accountability line, right? So like how often do you have to say, look, please don't click that link before you say to someone, well, look, it was really your fault?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure I want to answer that, being that we're live at the moment. Maybe offline.
Yeah. Come on, we want controversy here.
I have a washing machine that can be Wi-Fi enabled. Who needs to know when my smalls are done?
Probably the same person that tested the chastity belt.
I mean, yeah, I get it. Maybe you want to put a wash on so you pick it up when you get off the bus, I suppose. But no one needs that kind of.
There's a lot of vendors were going to market to try and get a point of difference. So they were making their devices smart. So there was another reason to buy it at the point of sale. I came back and said, that's fine. If you want to connect it, that's absolutely fine. Knock yourself out. But should we not have the option, or indeed the configuration, so the smarts are off by default? And if I decide I want my washing machine enabled, I press the button that turns Wi-Fi on, and then I can configure it. Surely that's the basics. So by default, most people don't bother because they don't care that their pants are washed, right? Yeah.
Well, to be honest, Ken, I would slightly disagree with you in that I would say
you do want to your pants to be washed.
Yeah, he does care.
I would say you shouldn't. If you are the kind of person that thinks, hey, I want a Wi-Fi connect up my washing machine, then you're not contributing enough to society.
Okay, I'll spin it on its head. Can you buy a non-connected TV now?
I'm sure you can on eBay by some 80-year-old or something like that. No,
I thought they were banned. The ones with the stuff inside that was
stuff
CRTs, so you can fry yourself. Yeah, that's the one.
Gosh, oh man, CRTs or the old crap. What was that? No, I'm showing my youth. That old video game and they got the CRT line to actually draw out the things in the game rather than just scan. Was like a space game? No, it's not Pong. It was basically the actual software allowed the CRT line to draw out the shape of each thing. It didn't just scan an image. It just the cathode ray actually drew out the shape of all the things. It was like a meteor thing, and you had to
Atari Asteroids.
Yeah, that's it. Thanks, man. Cheers.
Yeah, I've got that on my gaming table. I love it.
Really? Oh, brilliant! But that only works properly with CRTs. Yeah, you're losing something.
Well, it's
alas. But we are a forward-looking show today.
Yeah, no, sorry.
I'll bring you back for my catheter show. Totally different thing once again. So accountability. Have you seen how people wear masks during a pandemic?
Well, look, hang on a sec. No. Yes. Yeah. No. Let's be kind of fair and in good faith here, because we are talking about other people in a time of crisis. Yes, people are wearing masks like idiots. Fine, but look, you are falling. I'm sure with your question, and I'm sorry to assume that you're trying to make a quite specific point with that question. You are falling into the same trap that a lot of people fall into when addressing cybersecurity, which is, oh, look at those people. Ha, 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 ha. God, have you seen how these other people, we're clever. These other people, they're not. They're wearing masks stupidly, right? Maybe those other people don't necessarily understand, right, how transmission works or necessarily can visualize what aerosolization looks like, right? Like, these people are not appropriately informed. That doesn't make them uneducated. That doesn't make them incompetent, that makes them uninformed in a very specific subject. Do not give me that, oh, have you seen how people wear masks? Because that is lazy thinking, my friend. That is lazy
there
thinking.
we go. And that was a perfect example of basic security hygiene and why security awareness is important. Solomon, thank you. That was gorgeous.
Sorry. But it's the same. It's the same thing, because it's the same as going, us versus them, and they're stupid. We know best because we're security lot. No, come on. Teach people to teach others. Teach them the concepts. Allow them to understand and synthesize those concepts, and allow them to spread it like the virus. That education and that kind of information. Do not, as soon as you fall into that trap, then you're just cutting them off from being able to understand. So
here's everyone knows everything, right?
Yeah, right, exactly.
So here's quite an interesting one, which touches on something that we mentioned on our briefing call, actually. What about securing medical devices? Now, obviously, there's a lot of talk about upcoming companies doing stuff like Neuralink and putting more tech in bodies, and based on things that we know already, with everything that's happened with IoT and anything that is enabled and made smart. Do you think that this is going to be an upcoming issue? Are we going to see more and more biotech hacking, I guess you would call it?
Hell yes.
Yeah.
The good news is that the US FDA is actually leading a charge on this. They're doing a really good job. They've actually brought in some really well qualified people that I know of and respect, and brought them into the FDA so they actually understand some of the challenges. There are huge issues around security of medical products because they have to be certified. You update the software to fix a bug, you have to recertify. And so there's been all sorts of challenges around there. An example of something we found, I cannot even tell you what sort of thing it is, but it's something that it's a smart connected medical. I can't, it's too big. Smart connected medical device. We found a way remotely of killing 30,000 people within about 60 seconds.
Yeah.
It's so big, I'm not even going to tell you what it is. It was one of the scariest moments of my life when
I can imagine what that is, actually. But and they do exist, and some of those vulnerabilities are really, really, really old as well.
How many medical systems in our NHS, for example, are running on Windows 10?
Oh God, no.
How many are running on Windows XP? How many are running on older than that? How many are still using IE6? Because that's when the application was made, and we don't have the funding or whatever to update the application to support a modern browser.
No, I've got a horse in this race, you see, because my mum's NHS. She's been NHS for 25 years, something like that. And actually that is a really, really, really hard thing. Is all those updates and upgrades, because the systems that they run on are, I mean, obviously they're ridiculously old, and they have now, since WannaCry, updated to I can't remember what it is, something like some new Windows thing, probably Windows 7, maybe Windows 8. Yeah, I know. All right, Ken. But the problem is that the speed in which all information is overturned means that, and the criticality of that information means that an update to a latest operating system, getting people to sort of refamiliarize themselves with that aren't technically literate, nurses, doctors, education staff, the sort of management teams, they're not technically literate at all. They're very, very medically literate. Getting them to actually kind of incorporate that, first of all, it's very difficult because anyone messing up that could be risking someone's life. And second of all, the actual downtime for causing those updates might be low in the sort of singular sense, but going over the course of a hospital is tremendous. So I think the responsibility does lie in their IT teams. I don't think their IT teams are necessarily particularly as funded and as competent as they should be in some senses. Having said that, I won't tell you where my mum works, but I think that is necessarily a different kettle of fish, but is obviously still just as important. It's a hard task to engineer around.
And to try and, I suppose try and defend the NHS a little bit here from my own last comment. A lot of these. So I had my first run-in with an MRI machine a week and a half ago. I won't go into the details of why, but anyway, still running on Windows XP. I happened to notice, but I mean that MRI machine, God knows how much that costs. Is we can sit here and go, oh, it take me 10 minutes to update Windows XP to Windows 10. Well, not when it's connected to a machine that's worth, I don't know, 50 million, 20 million, whatever it may well be.
You're overestimating. It's about 2.5, I think, for an MRI machine. If you're interested.
I've probably got that in the Either way, you're looking at a lot of money, and we all know how rapidly these changes come out. What's good today is not good in 6 months, and you can't expect these people to be updating that level of equipment with that budget associated to them. Now, I would actually point the finger of the blame one level up, whether that's a Siemens machine or whoever it may well be manufacturing it. They should be putting more thought, in my opinion, into enabling those systems to be more future-proofed and not making them reliant on Internet Explorer 6 or Windows. You
have this challenge of legacy drag, which you have in so many industries. Is when you buy an MRI scanner, you're probably going to want 10 to 20 years out of it. Yeah. So if the vendor that you selected 20 years ago didn't put the time into future-proofing against vulnerabilities we only know about now, what hope do we have? Do you throw away that MRI scanner because you can't update it, or do you build controls around it? Do you have the skills to build the controls around it? So it's the same argument with OT. It's old, it works, it's fine, it does a good job, it saves people's lives. Why would we rip it out and throw it away?
And kind of a quick horizontal tangent, because God bless the NHS.
Got enough time for a horizontal tangent.
Oh, come on, it's a quick one, and it's really cool. It's really cool.
You have 45 seconds. Go.
Okay, right. A friend of mine got their brain scanned in an MRI. Submitted a Freedom of Information Act, not Freedom of, what am I talking about? Subject access request for the original DICOM images, was sent them, reconstructed in MRI, open source, constructed the images into 3D view, used Blender to turn them into a model, sent them off for 3D printing. The highest cost of that was the filament for the 3D printer. You can 3D print a damn brain in the NHS. Imagine how much that would cost in America. I mean, God bless the NHS for their stupendous ability, which we totally overlook. So just solidarity, and that is a really cool thing.
Absolutely, and what a wonderful point to end it on there. Thank you to the NHS. Now, to our wonderful panelists, we have, as I say, a couple of minutes left before we close. So I'd like to hand back to you, as you can make some solemn and soul-searchy comments. It seems like from the chat, Ken, everyone is looking to you to tell them that everything's okay. So start thinking about what you're going to say. Josh, do you fancy kicking us off?
Yeah, I think I might steal some thunder of some of the other guys here, but seeing as I'm going first, I'm going to.
You started last time, so it's about time.
Yeah, I think to go right back to where we started this conversation, I think to understand what's coming, we do need to look back and start fixing some of the things that we haven't been fixing. Some of the real basics, the visibility to give us the intelligence to be able to put the controls in place. If we don't have that visibility, if we're not getting the fundamentals right, we can't possibly, whoever we are in whatever walk of life, have the necessary levels of intelligence to then put the right controls in place to protect us. That's my soul-searching comments. I'll leave it at that.
Beautiful. Solomon, over to you.
Oh, I don't have a soul to search towards. No, that's not true. Oh gosh, I think it. Yeah, I'm not going to say it's going to be fine. You know what? Part of me says it might get worse before it gets better, but that it will get better and that we will be okay in the long run. I think people will realize that, we do need to kind of, no, it's fine. It's fine. It will be okay. Yeah, sure. be all right. But I don't know. It just might get worse. We might have to have some horrific data breach. We might have to have some, it doesn't take much for Facebook to bollock something up and then everyone have access to everyone else's account. My Instagram account, for heaven's sake, I go into Instagram.com and I'm logged in to some random guy from the Philippines, right? No password, nothing. Just some random dude in the Philippines. I've never seen him before. I'm logged into his account. I don't know what's happened. It's happened to someone else in America. Balls ups happen. I don't know what that was. I don't believe I don't believe our account session cookies have just overlap. That would be, I better go out and buy some lottery tickets then. It's some stupidity that the Instagram's done. Balls ups happen and it will take a big balls up, but yeah, I think in the long run we are resilient. Things will get better, and let's look on the bright side. Why not?
Perfect. And now ready for Ken to close things off to tell us it's going to get much better.
It's going to be fine. I've got a few questions here. Number one, the football table came from a company called Garlando, who are the Italian manufacturer. If you Google Garlando, you'll find them. The beer, by the way, I accidentally drank all the tins of beer last night. I had some of these spare, so I get glass. The scary vulnerability was fixed straight away. It's the only time I've ever signed a non-disclosure agreement with the vendor when disclosing a vulnerability. But it was that serious. I thought, fair enough, let's just get this fixed. Yeah. They fixed it that night at the weekend. I loved, by the way, some law enforcement action taking down some of the C2s. I wish that NCSC, FBI would be more proactive. We've reported vulnerabilities in a stalkerware platform that no one's really listened to us about, which is a real shame. I see things every day that scare me shitless, genuinely. The reason I think that most attacks aren't sophisticated is if people were genuinely sophisticated, they'd have taken down a hell of a lot more by now. I hope that actually people are just after the money, which is why people are pursuing ransomware and data breaches. If they really wanted to, criminals can do some genuinely scary things. But it's going to be fine.
It's going to be fine.
Good.
And just keep in mind, everyone that's listening, no matter how the world changes, no matter what 2021 throws at us, as long as I have internet connection and have someone to sponsor me sending beer around the country, I will be here for you month in, month out, and we will get through this together. My beautiful panel, thank you so much for coming to join me to get 2021 kicked off in such a wonderful fashion. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you involved. A huge thank you as well to BlueFort and especially for Josh for representing them in such a wonderful manner. And finally, to our incredible attendees. Without you, we would be nothing. The good times will come again. We will all cram into a pub venue. Just keep the faith and we'll see you soon.
Thank you very much,
and have a great...
Cheers, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.